Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Rottama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Agnana Timrandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, Canto 4, Chapter 4, Verse 9. अरुद्रभागं तमवेक्ष्य पित्रा च देवे कृतहेलनं विभौ अनादृता यज्ञसदस्यधीश्वरी सुकोपलोकानिव दक्षति रुषा. Present in the arena of sacrifice, Sati saw that there were no oblations for her husband, Lord Shiva. Next, she realized that not only had her father failed to invite Lord Shiva, but when he saw Lord Shiva's exalted wife Daksha did not receive her either. Thus she became greatly angry, so much so that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes. So as we've been discussing, Sati, wife of Daksha, wife of Shiva, goes to her father's house, Daksha's house, as there was some Vedic ceremony. All her sisters, relatives, etc., everybody had come there. So she also felt like going. She speaks to Shiva, and Shiva warns her, saying that it's not going to be good for her, that her father would disrespect her and insult her. But because she was emotionally dragged, she was very attached to her father's house. She goes ahead, even ignoring Shiva's advice. And when she comes to the arena of the sacrifice, except her sisters and mother, nobody else really receives her. Her father doesn't even look at her or talk to her. And when Sati experiences this, she was okay. But then when she saw that there were no oblations for her husband, um, she became very upset. So she became so angry that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes. Um, okay. So, okay, let's read the purport. By offering oblations in fire while chanting the Vedic mantra Swaha, one offers respect to all demigods, great sages, and pitas, including Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. So if you've done any Vedic uh, sacrifice at home, Agnihotra, so they'll say Swaha, Swaha. So they're offering oblations. It is customary that Shiva is one of those who are offered respects in these yagnas. But Sati, while personally present in the arena, saw that the Brahmanas did not utter the mantra offering oblations to Lord Shiva. Nama Shivaya Swaha. She was not sorry for herself, but she was ready to come to her father's house without being invited. But she wanted to see whether or not her husband was being respected. To see her relatives, her sisters and mother was not so important. Even when she was received by her mother and sisters, she did not care, for she was most concerned that her husband was being insulted in the sacrifice. When she marked the insult, she became greatly angry, and she looked at her father so angrily that Daksha appeared to burn in her vision. So this is very, very maybe difficult for Paris to understand, because many times women possibly take sides of their parental family and not so much their husbands. But Sati is actually here showing chastity of a married woman. And like I was putting in the group, I was reading Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 11th chapter. where there is discussion about qualities of a chaste uh, wife, right? And in that, there's also one statement made about a husband being qualified. So it's not just that um, most of the injunctions in the Shastra are actually directed more towards men, and there are few for women. Um, so whatever is generically being talked about is for all, but generally more so for men. Uh, um, and yeah, here Narada Muni in that seventh canto, 11th chapter is describing Varnashrama to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and he talks about the expectations of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and also of Stri, of women. So Purusha Dharma and Stri Dharma, both he is describing. And there he actually, and Shastra also says that, um, uh, yeah, so there are certain expectations that are set for women, and this is just to keep them happy. Yesterday also we were discussing that of course Kali Yuga is very difficult and very complicated situations arise for people even in marriages. Um, which is inevitable because this is Kali Yuga, because we've all done difficult karma in the past, so we'll end up suffering some more or the other. But like we discussed yesterday also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us only 8 verses, and the most important of them, which is like the mm, most precious among the jewels, is the verse asking us to be tolerant towards all situations in life. Prunadapi sunitena tarorapi saishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. So we have to be tolerant when people are insulting us. Like Sati is showing here, she was not so unhappy for herself, but she was very unhappy when she saw her husband disrespected. Now, her husband, Lord Shiva, he is a very exalted position. Not only is he her husband, due to which she has to respect his position and um, you know, yeah, protect his interests in that way. He's also a great Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So in a greater sense, like Daksha insulted a great Vaishnava like Lord Shiva by excluding him from the sacrifice. And the devotee Vaishnava should tolerate anything that happens with respect to himself, but he is expected to become angry um, when it comes to others, either in insulting either other Vaishnavas or the Supreme Lord, like Hanuman. Hanuman burnt Lanka because Ravana was uh, tormenting Sita and insulted Rama. So Hanuman could not tolerate it. He just burned down the whole Lanka. So it's not that Vaishnavas are just always supposed to be peaceful, and we think, irrespective what happens, you have to be just smiling and be peaceful. And no, when it comes to the Supreme Lord and Vaishnavas, when others are not dealing with them appropriately, a Vaishnava, true Vaishnava, will get angry naturally. Anger is a quality which is required, but generally we misuse this quality by, you know, expressing anger to other people in different situations. Why? Mostly because people have done something not so welcome to us. So in retaliation, we become angry, we become upset, we talk unnecessarily, etc., etc., which is not required, for which we have to be tolerant. But when it comes to disrespecting other Vaishnavas, or somebody is blaspheming the Supreme Lord, then we should not tolerate it. We simply should not tolerate it. And Sati is showing by example. She became angry. She became angry, so angry. With whom? With her father, right? As if she's going to burn him with her eyes. Um, so this also is actually karma. Just looking at somebody like this, staring someone, is also karma, and we accumulate karma phala for that. When people become angry, they just stare at the other person like this, like almost ready to burn them down. And we have to suffer for this. For such actions also we have to suffer. There are karmic reactions for these. Um, so yeah, So it's a human life is that of great responsibility, and especially life of a Vaishnava is of bigger consequence, bigger, lot more responsibility. Um, so which is why we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to read Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand what are the qualities that need to be there in a Vaishnava. And how do we develop these qualities? Simply by following the process, chanting Hare Krishna every day. Automatically, we become purified, and we will develop all these great qualities which are there in even demigods. Right. So these things are important, and hence we read Bhagavatam to understand how other devotees are reacting, how the other what are to learn from their actions. And Sati is, and that's why Satitva, chastity. Yeah, she is the emblem of chastity. How she, she is not even caring for her father because father offended her husband. So she's ready to burn him down. So she's looking at him very angrily. जगर्रसामर्षविपन्नया गिरा शिवद्विषं धूमपथः श्रमस्मयं स्वतेजसा भूतगणान् समुत्थितान् निगृह्य देवी जगतोऽभिशृण्वतः. The followers of Lord Shiva, the ghosts, were ready to injure or kill Daksha, but Sati stopped them by her order. She was very angry and sorrowful both at the same time. And in that mood, she began to condemn the process of sacrificial fruitive activities and persons who are very proud of such unnecessary and troublesome sacrifices. She especially condemned her father, speaking against him in the presence of all. So she became very angry but also sorrowful, because she came there in some sense, wanting to be happy with her family, with her parents. The process of offering sacrifices is especially meant to satisfy Vishnu, Yagnesha, because he is the enjoyer of the fruits of all sacrifice. So eventually, which is why, if you do any puja, etc. at home, at the end, the pujaris who come, they'll say Krishna Arpanamastu, because actually nothing can become complete if unless it is offered to Krishna or Vishnu. It doesn't. It remains incomplete. So it said even if some puja, sacrifice, etc. has been done to appease some particular demigod, etc. Still, unless it is offered to Krishna, the fruits will not fructify. Meaning, we will not get the results of that puja or sacrifice, because everything is finally Krishna has to approve. Krishna or Vishnu has to approve. So it has to go to them. Yagnesha. Vishnu is called Yagnesha. Bhagavad Gita 5.29 also confirms this fact. Lord says, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam. He is the actual beneficiary of all sacrifices. Not knowing this fact, less intelligent men offer sacrifices for some material benefit, which is what most people do in this material world. Less intelligent they are. They do all these sacrifices, puja, etc. for some material benefit. To derive personal material benefits for sense gratification is the reason persons like Daksha and his followers perform sacrifices. Such sacrifices are condemned here as a labor of love without actual profit. Why without actual profit? Because whatever comes out of it is material, and material profit ceases to exist. It is temporary, it will get destroyed over a period of time. So it's a labor of love without actual profit. Real profit is permanent profit when it is associated with the soul, not with the body. And mostly when we are doing all these yagnas, etc., for material benefits, that's connected to the body, which is temporary, useless. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. One may prosecute the Vedic injunctions of offering sacrifices and other fruitive activities. But if by such activities one does not develop attraction for Vishnu, they are useless labors. Unfortunately, in India, people do all this, but they don't come to Vishnu. They don't develop attraction to Vishnu or Krishna. They're happy in their own world. I know so many people who worship different demigods, different human beings as God, not really understanding, right? But all this is useless labor unless they come to the stage of developing attraction for Vishnu. In fact, any demigod or any great human being mm, should eventually bring people to Vishnu or Krishna. And they do. That is actually their work. For example, Shastra Padma Purana says demigod, people who worship demigods will eventually come to Devi, and then those who worship Devi, then or Durga, then eventually they come to Shiva, and those who worship Shiva eventually come to Vishnu. So this is the process of worship also. Eventually, one has to come to Vishnu because everybody in the creation are actually trying to do the same thing. Come to Vishnu, bring others to Vishnu. But if you don't get there, if you're simply doing some sacrifices, some fruity activities, some puja, some this, some that, they're all useless labors. One who has developed love for Vishnu must develop love and respect for Vishnu's devotees. Mm. Lord Shiva is considered the foremost personality among Vaishnavas, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhuhu. Thus, when Sati saw that her father was performing great sacrifices but had no respect for the greatest devotee, Lord Shiva, he was very angry. This is fitting. When Vishnu or a Vaishnava is insulted, one should be angry. Lord Chaitanya, who always preached non-violence, meekness, and humility. See, Pranadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Saishnuna, Manina Manadena. Non-violence, meekness, and humility. Today, people will say, Prabhu, how can we live like this in this nasty material world? People will walk all over us if we are meek and humble. No, not true. If you are destined to be walked over by somebody, it will anyway happen. Whether you are meek, whether you are, um, you know, aggressive, if somebody has to walk over you, they will walk over you because that's your karma phala. But that doesn't mean that somebody who is generally weak will always end up being walked over by others. That's just assumption, or that's not a real fact. In fact, I've seen in my own life people who are meek and humble, it becomes much easier for them to handle even the most difficult of difficult situations. Because those who are not meek, those who are not humble, will become more aggressive, more violent, and worsen the situation. Always. I've seen in my own life. The moment we learn to remain meek and humble and just, not get into this argumentative fighting mode with others, actually, life becomes much easier. But Prabhupada is saying Lord Chaitanya, who always preached non-violence, meekness, and humility, also became angry when Nityananda was offended by Jagai and Madhai, and he wanted to kill them. Yeah, when Jagai and Madhai, specifically Jagai, hit Nityananda Prabhu with a pot, and there's blood flowing mm, from his forehead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very, very angry, and he took out his Sudarshana, split his Sudarshana, saying that I'm going to destroy these two. Right? Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu is a Vaishnava and he was offended. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not ready to tolerate that, even though in general he's always talking about non-violence, meekness, and humility with respect to ourselves. When Vishnu or a Vaishnava is blasphemed or dishonored, one should be very angry. Narottam Das Thakur said, Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. We have anger, and that anger can be a great quality when directed against a person who is envious of the Supreme Person of Godhead or his devotee. It's not that we have to be meek and humble when a Vaishnava or the Supreme Lord is being offended or insulted or dishonored or blasphemed. One should not be tolerant when a person is offensive towards Vishnu or Vaishnava. Actually, we do the other way around. When somebody else is being blasphemed or dishonored, we will remain silent. When somebody says anything about us, we'll say, oh no, can you say this? But a Vaishnava actually his behavior has to be exactly the opposite. The anger of Sati towards her father was not objectionable, for although he was her father, he was trying to insult the greatest Vaishnava. See, Prabhupada is very, very clearly helping us understand how relationships should be seen. It doesn't matter who it is, it could be the most dearest of, our kin relatives, whoever. But if they end up insulting Vaishnavas, then we should be ready to go against them. Thus, Sati's anger against her father was quite applaudable. applaudable, right? So again, I mean, these things are contra uh, against normal beliefs in the society. And that is the reason why we have to read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, to actually understand what is the expected behavior. Are we actually following it or not? We have to understand this. Okay. Devi Uvacha. न यस्य लोकेऽस्ति अतिशायनः प्रियस् तथा प्रियो देहभृतां प्रियात्मनः तस्मिन् समस्तात्मनि मुक्तवैरके ऋते भवन्तं कथमः प्रतिपयेत्. The blessed goddess said, Lord Shiva is the most beloved of all living entities. He has no rival. No one is very dear to him, and no one is his enemy. No one but you could be envious of such a universal being who is free from all enmity. So she's telling Daksha, mm, she's glorifying the position of Lord Shiva, the most beloved of all living entities. He has no rival. No, no one is very dear. No one is very dear to him, and no one is his enemy. No one but you could be envious of such a universal being who is free from all enmity. Bhagavad Gita 9.29, Lord says, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. I'm equal to all living entities. Similarly, Lord Shiva is a qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So he has almost the same qualities as the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is equal to everyone. No one is his enemy. No one is his friend. But one who is envious by nature can become the enemy of Lord Shiva. Therefore, Sati accused her father. No one but you could be envious of Lord Shiva or be his enemy. Other sages and learned Brahmanas were present, but they were not envious of Lord Shiva. Although they were all dependent on Daksha. Therefore, no one but Daksha could be envious of Lord Shiva. That was the accusation of Sati. Of course, those other sages and Brahmanas were present. They were not envious of Lord Shiva, but still they didn't go against Daksha. So they made a mistake. They made a mistake. But Daksha alone was actually directly envious of Lord Shiva. Others, in some sense, were neutral, but still that neutrality itself was not is not acceptable. Like Prabhupada said in the previous verse that one should be angry when something like this happens. But they are afraid, thinking Daksha will become angry at them, and so they kept quiet. So that was a big mistake that they did. And of course, the Daksha did a big mistake by envying Lord Shiva and insulting him. This is something like I've been saying. We also have to develop this quality. We have to see the Supreme Lord in every jiva. And we should also not develop, look at people as enemy and friends. Uh, they're all just parts and parcels of Krishna. And of course, we should have so we should associate only with devotees. So in the aspects of surrender, anukulisa sankalpaha pratikulisa varjanam. Hmm. The pratikulisa varjanam, one of the most important things is asat sangatyag, giving up association of non-devotees. And I've explained this before, giving up association doesn't mean disconnecting completely with them. Yeah, if that's possible, that's well and good. But it's not that, um, we remain in society and um, if we have to interact with non-devotees, it's okay, but we don't become influenced by their thought process. In fact, we should try to influence them with our thought process. That's expected. Yeah, but otherwise, we just remain aloof. We don't go behind saying this person is my enemy, this person is my friend. We just serve all Vaishnavas. We serve all jivas by giving them Krishna consciousness. That's all. Why? Because we see the Supreme Lord everywhere. We treat each and every body as a temple, the Supreme Lord, and we should just see the Paramatma. So Shiva was already is so exalted that he's in that at that stage, and Sati is saying that who could be envious to such a universal being who's so equal to everybody except you. Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo grunhanti kechinna bhavadrisho dvija gunamscha falgun bahuli karishnavo mahattamas teshva vidad bhavan agham. Wise born Daksha, a man like you can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, magnifies it greatly. Unfortunately, you found fault with such a great soul. She is such a beautiful quality. Shiva not only finds no faults with others, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. And this magnification is not artificial. It's not artificial. It's like Krishna also, little service done by a devotee, he makes it, he thinks of it as very big service. It's very natural for them to see that way. So it's not like some, artificial appreciation. Sometimes, sometimes I see devotees doing this, very comes across very artificial. Something very, like because in other dealings, the same feeling is not reflected. So only by in speech, a magnification of some qualities happen, but in dealings, it doesn't reflect. So these are all duplicity, right? Saying something but feeling something else. These things should be avoided. These are not for Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas means inside outside is same. No difference. King Daksha is addressed here by his daughter Sati as Dvija, twice born. Twice born refers to the higher class of men, namely Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. In other words, a Dvija is not an ordinary man, but one who has studied the Vedic literature from a spiritual master and can discriminate between good and bad. He is a Dvija. Hmm. So it's not just because I got second initiated, I become a Dvija. No, we should be able to uh, study Vedic literature, discriminate between good and bad. Such people should become Dvija. Therefore, it is supposed that he understands logic and philosophy. Sati, Daksha's daughter, put before him sound arguments. There are some highly qualified persons who accept only the good qualities of others. Just as a bee is always interested in the honey in the flower and does not consider the thorns and colors, highly qualified persons who are uncommon accept only the good qualities of others, not considering their bad qualities. Whereas the common man can judge what are good qualities and what are bad qualities. Common man judges both these and mostly um, gives a lot of stress to bad qualities. And great persons, they don't even consider bad qualities, even if they're there. Among the uncommonly good souls, there are still gradations, and the best good soul is one who accepts an insignificant asset of a person and magnifies that good quality. Lord Shiva is also called Ashutosha, which refers to one who is satisfied very easily and who offers to any person the highest level of benediction. Ashutosha. For example, once a devotee of Lord Shiva wanted a benediction that whenever he touched someone on the head, that person's head would at once be separated from his trunk. Uh, Vrikasura. Lord Shiva agreed. Although the benediction asked was not very commendable because the devotee wanted to kill his enemy, Lord Shiva considered the devotee's good quality in worshipping and satisfying him and granted the benediction. Thus, Lord Shiva accepted his bad qualities as magnificently good qualities. But Sati accused her father, "You are just the opposite. Although Lord Shiva has so many good qualities and no bad qualities at all, you have accepted him as bad and found fault with him. Because of your accepting his good qualities to be bad, instead of your becoming the most exalted soul, you have become the most fallen. A man becomes the greatest soul by accepting the goodness of others' qualities. But by unnecessarily considering others' good qualities to be bad, you become the lowest of the fallen souls. So, first of all, we should see only the good qualities. Second, we should see bad qualities in ourselves. There's no need for us to see bad qualities in others, except unless one is in the position of a guru. He has to see to correct because that is his responsibility. But otherwise, we don't have to go around finding faults with others. When when see especially like when we know right and wrong in Shastra, as per Shastra, and when we are seeing people around us actually not coming to the standard, we should just understand if they're doing mistakes. We should just understand, oh, this is not correct. I will not do it. We don't have to go behind, blaspheming or correcting that person unless we have an authority to do that. And those who have authority to do that should do it. Otherwise, they're not doing their job. Mm. Because as Vaishnavas, we are supposed to correct all our, you know, bad qualities and develop good qualities. But for a normal person, he should only try to see the goodness in others. See the bad qualities in oneself, see the goodness in others. Then we will not become fallen. Otherwise, by just this act, natural, where we are just so used to finding faults with others, we will fall down. We cannot qualify ourselves to become a Vaishnava. And exalted devotees, exalted personalities will even see very small good quality and make it big. And of course, they don't even consider bad qualities, even if it exists. Like the example of a bee is very good. Mm. Bee is always interested in honey in the flower. It does not consider thorns and colors. It's not relevant. It's not important. So they don't consider their bad qualities. So this is very, very important things for us to try and practice. Mm. Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah, sorry. I think so. We'll stop there. Okay. Yeah. So basically, yeah, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Anything? Any comments? Anybody? No comments. No questions. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Dandavati.
Prabhu, here Sati Devi, when she is talking to Daksha,
Mm.
here she is not thinking that Krishna is the greatest Vaishnava, but she is talking, thinking Lord Shiva is her husband, and
Yeah.
insulting Lord Shiva is like, I mean, no
Right.
wife can
Yeah.
tolerate insulting her husband, right? So
Hmm.
here Sati is opposing her father because she thought her husband is being insulted.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, two
Not
things.
his
Actually, the
husband.
previous verses, if you see, um, Sati also tells Lord Shiva, saying that you are such a great personality, but I'm just an ordinary woman. So it's not that she doesn't know Lord Shiva's position. She actually knows and also respects that position. And she also knows that that Daksha did a mistake by doing that. So, and see this natural, this is the natural love, right? Like even the Vrajavasis, they don't see Krishna as Supreme Lord, but nothing can happen to Krishna, right? If they're ready to do anything to protect Krishna or protect his interest, like that. When there are these devotees are so exalted that they don't have to separately think of, like Sati doesn't have to separately think of Shiva as a great personality or a great Vaishnava. Her love for her husband itself is combined with the fact that he's a great personality and also that he's her husband. So when she is saying she is not angry because it was just to some ordinary husband. Of course, Shastra says even to any ordinary wife, should protect the interest of her husband. But Sati was such a great personality that she was not only speaking uh, for her husband, but also because he was a great personality. Both were happening together. It's not, we should not look at it saying that she was just looking at Lord Shiva as her husband, because she was completely aware of Lord Shiva's position.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. And of course, I mean, like I said, in especially household dealings, we face these situations all the time at home, challenges between husband and wife. We should we should always understand and recognize that the other person is a Vaishnava. So that is why Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj said that husband and wife, when they get up from bed in the morning, they have to offer pranams, vancha kalpatarubhyascha, and offer pranams to each other, so that the consciousness remains, saying that, I'm not dealing with just some ordinary husband or wife, but I'm dealing with Vaishnava. Right. So, and it's important to remember that many times, yeah, because of our conditioned state, we don't behave at the level of being Vaishnavas. We fall from that state. We fall to material uh, conditioning, and we might speak something, do something which is not really acceptable. But it doesn't mean that. That is why Krishna says, "Api chet suduracharo sadhureva hi mantavya." Still, we have to consider them as sadhu, and treat them with respect. Mm, but this requires a lot of maturity between husband and wife devotees, and it's very important actually. It's a cornerstone for grihastha life. Um, because like I was saying the other day, right? So first we have to practice seeing people in the house, Vaishnavas in the house as Vaishnavas, and not looking at them as normal human beings. Then only we can see super soul in other jivas outside the house, right? So charity begins at home. So first we should fix our house, right? Then we can preach to others. Because if we are not behaving, we cannot preach. Apani achari. Uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "At apani achari," meaning by our actions we have to preach, not by theoretical, not theoretical. That theoretical preaching will not have any effect. But those who preach what they practice, it will have effect. Right. So this is also very, very important, and will keep family life very peaceful, happy, in Krishna consciousness, with Krishna in the center, not me in the center. Mm. Uh, Husband is thinking, I am the center of the house. I am the most important person. Wife is thinking, I am the most. This is just material. And this kind of behavior should not exist among devotees. So this is important even from a Grihastha perspective. Okay, anything else? Yeah, and Prabhupada always said when there are two vessels in a kitchen, they are going to make sound, right? So, but we have to keep the sound to the minimum. We have to try. And that is the path of progress. Okay. Okay. So we'll end if there's nothing else. Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhaya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Hare Krishna.